Okay, should be live, I believe. At least I hope.
See in the top left, it says first live stream ever, so I'm going to assume.
Oh, yeah, I have the YouTube up. Yeah, so we're good. All right. Go ahead and get started. So, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Basketball Maestros podcast. Thank you for joining us today. If you're here from the live stream, thank you for joining in our first live stream and a new platform that we're trying out. Trying out StreamYard is a lot better than Discord at this point in time, just in terms of overlay and design and stuff like that. So we're just going to try it out with this, see where it goes. But for now, StreamYard's probably the new move. And yeah, we can start with our first topic. We have a lot to talk about today. We have a lot of talking points. We can start off with Derek Carr joined the New Orleans Saints. And in kind of shocking fashion for me, I saw a tweet like a couple days before this saying how Derek Carr was kind of leaning towards the Jets, and the Jets were kind of leaning towards signing him. And kind of shockingly, I woke up and saw Derek Carr signed with the Saints. First reaction is I'm kind of excited to see what he looks like. We gave him a lot of money, I believe $35 million. I want to say 150. So we are definitely committing a lot of money to Derek Carr. But then again, it's a lot better than the options we have with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, who was there last year but is now a free agent. So can't really be mad at it. I know, Daniel, last year we kind of made fun of Derek Carr with all his interceptions, called him the car crash, the car accident. But, I mean, in terms of just having a quality quarterback, I mean, as a fan, I can't really be too mad at it. I'd rather have Derek Carr over Jameis Winston, if I'm being completely honest. From a bias point of view, or kind of a biased point of view, I think we gave him a little bit too much money, but then again, Daniel Jones is making a lot of money with his new contract. Geno Smith is getting over $30 million, I believe, as well. So, I mean, quarterback is arguably the biggest position in football, so I can't really be mad at it. Interested to see how our offense looks in terms of Michael Thomas, Chris Olave. But yeah, overall, can't really be mad at this move. I'd rather have Derek Carr over Jameis Winston, if I'm being honest. And Jameis Winston hasn't necessarily looked the greatest, and he was kind of injured for a good amount of the year. So time will tell. It's a lot of money to commit to a quarterback, coming off a pretty rough year for Derek Carr. But overall, if he's not the greatest, I think in terms of entertainment, I think I'll probably be just fine. But yeah, overall, can't really be mad at it. Happy the Saints actually get a serviceable quarterback, and we'll see how it pans out. So overall, can't be mad at it.
Yeah, I think this is actually probably the best move the Saints could have made at this point in time. Look, you're Dennis Allen. You had a rough first year. Your quarterback play was up and down with Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. And then, you're kind of on a hot seat entering the next year. And, you really don't want to take a chance on a rookie right now because that could honestly get you fired. And if he underperforms, maybe the front office would look and be like, hey, you're a defensive-minded head guy. We got a young guy at quarterback. Let's fire you and get an offensive-minded guy. So I think getting a veteran like this is honestly the best move. And as of right now, like Miles miles. Like, he is the best quarterback in the NFC South at the moment. So right now, I think you have to look at that Saints team as the favorite with that quarterback. And realistically, that team still isn't a bad team. It's the defense is solid. They're definitely aging, but it's still solid. The offense is there. The offensive line is kind of fallen off last year, but you still have some pieces there. And you know, like you mentioned, Michael Thomas, if he can stay healthy, is a really good um, wideout. You have Chris Olave still. You know, Jarvis is still there. I don't know if he's a free agent actually
He's a
this year.
free
He might be.
agent.
Yeah. But you still have, you know, a base, and you know, Alvin Kamara has a little bit of legal issues going on, but if he can return, that's
Forgot
still
about
a
that.
really good piece. And I think that the Saints it's a really smart move for them. I think with the money wise, it is a little scary. You're paying a guy who's 30, he's gonna get 50 million when I think he's like 36 or something like that. So, you know, even if it doesn't work out, I mean, I think you could still use Carr as like a bridge quarterback type of guy. You know, you draft someone young and you let Carr develop him. So I think there are a lot of things that can happen with this move, and I'm really interested to see how it plays out because the offense is there. You know, it's still really talented, and I think he's gonna, you know, it will definitely benefit him playing in another dome-like situation because he doesn't have the best record playing in the cold, so that would be definitely interesting. But I think when healthy, this guy's still a top 12 quarterback in the league, and when everything's kind of clicking around him, I think that he has, you know, one of the better arms in the league. So definitely interested to see him ball out. Definitely sucks. It's going to be weird to see him as a Raider fan. To kind of be a New Orleans Saint, but you know, I'm definitely happy for the guy. Happy he got his money, and I just kind of wish things played out better on him leaving. But um, this is kind of where I saw him going. I didn't see him going to New York at all.
Do you think the Saints win the division next year?
Depending on what happens with the other teams, like, you know, the Falcons, they might go for Lamar. I know that the report said that they're out, but I just don't believe any of that. I think, you know, when you look at the Bucks, depends what they do. But as of right now, the starting quarterbacks are supposed to be Desmond Ritter, Sam Darnold, Kyle Trask, and I just don't. Maybe, you know, Trask, you know, being behind Brady helps, but I just think that quarterback play, I think that the Saints are miles above everyone else at this very moment. So right now, I think it's fair to say that the Saints could win the division, but with free agency coming up in the draft, you know, that could change. But as of right now, I do like that Saints team if they can stay healthy.
That's always a big if. And then moving on to another quarterback that can potentially be on the move here. Good old Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of speculation going on if he's going to go to the Jets or stay put in Green Bay. You know, he went on that like darkness retreat or whatever for 4 days. So he's out of hibernation, if you want to call it that. And I believe he's having some conversations with the Jets right now. So I'm interested to see how that whole situation pans out with Aaron Rodgers. Don't have too much of a take on this. I would probably like to see him go to the Jets because the Jets were just really surprising last year, and they're definitely a high watch for Daniel and Ryan as well. Um, they're just kind of like that Cinderella story in a way. They started off really strong and then kind of fell off pretty bad. Just Zach Wilson wasn't the greatest, and Joe Flacco is also not the greatest. So I think Aaron Rodgers would definitely help, even though he's kind of towards the end of his career. And I'm would like to see the Jets just be back in the playoffs, be competitive, and I think Aaron Rodgers would probably provide that. Don't know too much about the logistics because I'm a casual football fan and how he fits with the offense and just overall roster construction. If a guy like Aaron Rodgers coming in would push him over the edge, which looking at it on paper, I'd probably say so. Um, but interested to see what comes out of it. I think it could either go he can stay or leave. Personally, I'd like to see him leave just to spice things up, you know, give the Jets a chance to do something special, have them be an exciting team again because they've been bad for so long now. So hopefully the Jets get a pretty good quarterback. I don't think you can survive with Zach Wilson much longer. He has not looked good in his first couple seasons, so interested to see what pans out of this situation.
Oh yeah, I think that I as a Raider fan kind of want the Raiders to make a run at Rodgers, but as of right now, I just don't think that's a possibility. I just think that he's a New York Jet. It's everything's pointing in that direction, but I think that if he goes to the Jets, I think this team is instantly a top 5 team in the AFC. I think that with this roster and what they were able to accomplish last year, you got a defensive and offensive rookie of the year on your team. Like your future is bright. You've Quinnen Williams, you have Mekhi Becton, who's been hurt. You have guard Elijah Tucker. I'm forgetting his middle name. But you have pieces there. You have those young pieces. Your receivers are still besides Garrett Wilson, it's still kind of there. Denzel Mims is been a guy. Corey Davis is still there. Elijah Moore had some complications last year with the offense, but you still have those young pieces, and you enter Aaron Rodgers, who is probably one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and I think that team instantly can win the AFC East. They instantly can make the AFC Championship game, and I'm really I think it's a good move for both organizations. The Jets want to win now. They have the young pieces. They've been drafting well, and all they need is that quarterback. And the Packers, you saw a little bit of Jordan Love last year, and there are already reports coming out saying that they want Rodgers to move on. They want to see what they have in Jordan Love now and kind of just have that little bridge between the two quarterbacks. And I think that both teams should do it. I think it makes the AFC even more exciting, and I just think that the Packers are kind of now entering a rebuild mode, and I think it's just a good move to have Jordan Love. You've been having him sit behind Rodgers for I think 3 years now, so I think it's kind of time to, you use the first round pick on the guy, so you really got to start making decisions here. But I'm really interested to see if it happens, and I'm just overall kind of excited. The AFC is going to get even better, which is absolutely crazy.
Do you have a percentage on how likely it is that he lose?
I'd say 70% because there's a report this morning that literally like everyone in the Jets organization is flying out in Cali right now to see Rodgers. I know Saleh is, I know their owner is, I know their GM is, like everyone important, and you see Jets players on Twitter right now like actively recruiting. Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner was tweeting, and I think it just makes too much sense for both sides for it to happen. So I'd give it like a 70% chance.
And then moving on to another quarterback that could potentially be on the move here, Lamar Jackson. Yesterday received a non-exclusive tag, I think it's called, where it basically allows Lamar Jackson to kind of look at the market, see what kind of teams have to offer because they've kind of struggled to iron out a deal up to this point in time. It's been like 2 years now since they've been trying to figure out a new deal for Lamar, but interesting that the Ravens are kind of leaving that door open. So far, I'm not aware of too many teams that are involved and willing to offer Lamar a good amount of money. I know I saw the Falcons, as you said, and then the Dolphins, I believe that said they weren't interested in Lamar, which I found pretty interesting, at least for the Falcons' sake, because they don't really have a quarterback right now. I forgot who it was, but somebody on Twitter was saying, it was some talk show host, I think, saying that teams aren't necessarily willing to help the Ravens kind of just iron out a deal because at the end of the day, they're able to match or take 2 first-round picks away from whatever team offers them the money. So I guess the hesitation for teams is they don't really want to help the Ravens, just give them a new deal, and they just say, oh, thank you for the number. We'll take that. And so interested to see what happens here. I personally think Lamar's probably going to stick around. I don't think a team's probably going to offer him a lot of money. The quarterback market seemingly getting higher in terms of demand. So we'll see. Don't really know how much money he's willing to take on or looking for, but obviously they haven't been able to figure that out. So I'm interested to see, but I think When push comes to shove, he's probably going to stick around, I think. But interested to see if any teams enter the running here. I think Lamar is a really good quarterback, and he can help a lot of teams out. So I'm interested to see if anyone kind of enters the running. But at this point, I'm not aware of too many teams or any at all that are interested in Lamar and giving him a big contract that he wants.
Yeah, this whole situation has been really weird. Lamar, they've been working for this for like, a year and a half, 2 years, like you said. And honestly, I feel like the Ravens are just, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I don't want to go back there. It just shows you that you're an NFL, MVP winner. You have the highest, I think, winning percentage as a starting quarterback since you've entered the league, and they still don't want to pay you, which is absolutely crazy to me. And you're kind of hoping, I think, in the Ravens, point of view, that you let him explore the market, kind of realize that no one else is going to give him the crazy amount of money that he wants. So maybe it kind of brings him back down the earth a little bit. But at the same time, maybe what if a team does offer him like the 50 or something, a crazy amount of guaranteed money he wanted. I don't know the exact number, but someone gives him the contract that he's been wanting. Like, do you match it then? Do you just say, hey, we're going to pay this money? Or do you give him up for only really 2 first-round picks, which isn't a lot, which, last year Russell Wilson went for, I think, 3. So do you give him up for that? And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But something that's just weird is that all these teams last year that were in for Deshaun Watson, like you mentioned, the Falcons was a team that really wanted Deshaun Watson. The Dolphins, the Panthers were interested. The Commanders were also interested, and now all these teams just are suddenly out on Lamar. It doesn't make sense to me, and he's a really talented player, and I think that he really deserves to get the bag and get paid. But it's just I don't see him leaving the Ravens. I think that they'll match anything that he accepts. But I truly do think that the only reason the Ravens kind of pulled off this scummy move is just he will go look at the market. He'll see, hey, I'm not getting the money at all that I wanted, and that he'll come back down to earth a little bit when they kind of re-enter negotiations. If no one, actually makes an offer sheet for the Ravens. But this all could, blow up in their face because someone could just offer him that money he wanted, and then you're kind of at a point where you never want him to pay him this much, so it's now or never. So it's just such a weird situation, and honestly, just a really messed up one for Lamar. And I really just hope that he can get his money and secure a future for himself, because he's a talented player and he honestly deserves it.
And then moving on to Colin Cowherd, he provided I'm going to share my screen here. He provided a little tweet about his top NFC quarterbacks, and interested when looking at this that he has Stafford at number 1. Obviously, he had a pretty rough year last year and suffered some injuries with his, I believe, his elbow. Personally, would have probably put Jalen Hurts number 1, just granted because of his Super Bowl appearance. But honestly, don't have too much to complain about this. Jared Goff had a really good year. Kyler, I maybe put a little lower, maybe Dak ahead of him. But interested to see how the NFC shakes out, because it's obviously not as strong as the AFC. Dak has gotten some slander last year as well. So a lot of quarterbacks with a lot to prove, especially Matt Stafford. I'm interested to see how that whole situation pans out with the Rams, if it really just begins to start to implode and just Matt Stafford's just injury riddled, and plus he's aging, making a lot of money, I believe, as well. Interested to see how the NFC shakes out, but hopefully Derek Carr can start moving up the ranks, because he's about to become a Saints legend. So Yeah, not much to complain about. Just overall, pretty shocked that Matt Stafford's number one just after the year the Rams had.
Yeah, I have a lot of words about this list. It makes no sense to me. There's no way you watch what Jalen Hurts did this past year and you don't say that he's the best quarterback in this conference. I know Matt Stafford's had the more successful career, but we're talking about now. Recency bias is completely valid here. You can look at what these guys bring into the future, and right now, I think Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC. And I think number two is not Stafford or Goff. It is either Murray or Prescott. The NFC, let's be honest, does not have a lot of quarterback talent, as you can see from this list. The AFC has a lot more talent. And I think just when you're looking at quarterbacks, I just think Murray and Prescott are probably number two. You can interchange those two guys however you want. Prescott did have a little bit of a down year last year, but I still think that when looking at most of these other guys, he is better. Murray, I still like the dual threat kind of quarterback. I think he's really talented. I think Kingsbury held him back a lot in Arizona. So I think you can put those guys 2 and 3. And then I think 4, you have to go Geno. I think with this year that he's had last year, I think Geno is easily the 4th best quarterback um, on this list. And then Goff and Carr, I kind of rank, 5 and 6. I'm going to put Carr at 5 and then Goff at 6. That's how I kind of see it. I think Carr is really, top 12, top 15 quarterback in this league. Goff is, he's a quarterback that is kind of like, I feel like his career would play out like a Kirk Cousins. He's all right, but you always feel like that you could get an upgrade and that he will get outplayed in some scenarios. And then obviously I'm gonna put Cousins at 7, and I'll put Stafford at 8 because I think injuries. You can tell Matt Stafford is not the same quarterback right now. The last year he did not look good at all. There were a lot of bad plays and bad reads early on in the season. So I think putting him here at 1, it just doesn't make sense at all. You've heard all the retirement, rumors, and his stats just didn't back it up. He was out for half of the year because of a concussion. So I just think him coming back is just honestly for Colin putting him at number 1. I just really want to know what his thought process was here. Maybe I can look up on that later, but it doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, that's how I would rank it. Because for me, you look at, I'm taking it as like top quarterbacks to kind of build with and who you want your team. So I kind of shift towards those younger guys. But I just think that having Jalen Hurts number 1 is just kind of absurd to me. That just does not make any sort of sense.
Yeah, that's the good old joys of talk show and just trying to get clicks, honestly, probably. Yeah. Even though I'm kind of a casual, it's very surprising to see Matt Stafford there. But yeah, we had a decent amount of football to talk about, and now moving on into some NBA discussion, starting off with a little interesting situation that we have developing. John Morant and an Instagram Live incident. If you aren't aware, John Morant was seen in a Denver nightclub flashing a gun, which is very surprising, but there's just been a lot of reports coming out of allegedly him fighting a 17-year-old, and he's just had a lot of just pretty weird stories come out about him, which makes you kind of worry about if he's really has the right mindset in terms of just playing in the NBA. Don't want to attack him too personally because he's still really, really young, and I'm sure he's got just his circle surrounding him is probably just not the greatest. I think he has to look around the people that surround him and kind of evaluate if they're a positive influence, because he's going to be making a lot of money throughout his whole career in the NBA. So like for him to just be smarter, look at the people around you, and just evaluate if they're really helping you throughout your NBA career. Um, I have a lot of thoughts about this, but I don't really want to attack him a lot because, yes, he's still really young at the end of the day and he's making millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it's just going to continue to increase as he gets more popular and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously a really bad mistake. He's got to be a lot smarter. And it was reported earlier today that he's out for 4 more games from the Grizzlies, and interested to see if it's more or if 4 is going to be the final stopping point. Um, really sucks for this to happen at this time of the year for the Grizzlies, just being the second or the third seed now. They were the second seed, but just coming in closer to playoff time. Grizzlies are kind of hoping to make that playoff run this year, kind of get far in the playoffs. And just to have this is just really unnecessary, and they've kind of been struggling. Uh, they had a great third quarter against the Clippers, 51 points in the third quarter, and then just all came crashing down in that fourth quarter. They just struggled offensively, and coming off a loss against the Lakers last night as well. So they're kind of struggling to figure it out, which obviously you're missing your best player at this point. But yeah, overall, very, very rough accident for the Grizzlies to handle, especially as we're coming down the stretch here. John Morant, he's just got to be smarter. He's got to look at the people around him and just have a positive, more healthy environment around him. Because if he's doing stuff like this and like flexing the hood lifestyle, it's not the greatest look, especially for the NBA and the Grizzlies as an organization. But hopefully, he gets better. Hopefully, this, I don't know if you want to call it suspension, but like a leave or an absence, hopefully helps him get in the right frame of mind and helps him realize what's actually important. Um, what's important is that he's making generational wealth. He's going to be able to help his family, friends with a lot of the money he's making, and just enjoy the NBA. He's a really talented player, one of the most electric players in the league, and hopefully he realizes that and realizes what's at stake, because if he keeps doing this, his career probably won't last long. So just want Ja to be smarter, and hopefully he realizes that after he comes back from this absence, however long it is. Could be 4 more games, could be a little longer. Guess time will tell, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's honestly just really sad just to see this. So immature, and I just feel like you just have to be thinking at all times because you know how the social media is, and instantly probably as he flashed the gun on his live, like it's just reports already out like as fast as they can get out, and it's just I feel like something with this Grizzlies team is just their personality is just so weird with how they react to most things. With, not winning anything, even with someone who also talks a lot is Dylan Brooks. And then Jaw always has like these weird, encounters. I feel like it's just something with the Grizzlies team just isn't right. I feel like something that really kind of hurts the Grizzlies as well is not having like a veteran in the locker room, if that makes sense. I think they're the youngest roster or something like that, or one of the youngest rosters in the league. And just having that guy to kind of keep you in check and just kind of help you, especially um, when NBA seasons are so long, and to keep everyone focused, that really help this team. And they're just not getting it right now because, you're possibly losing Jaw for, I know I saw something like 50 games, and that's, not what you need right now as, a Grizzly team who's making that push, um, who wants to win a championship and who, knows that they can get there, and just facing setback after setback is just not good. And, obviously what can the team do? All they can do is put out their support for him. But I just hope that he can kind of get the guidance and, the counseling that he needs to kind of make everything all right because, like we said, this is just honestly, unacceptable for NBA players. You can be interested and, kind of do whatever you want, but you kind of have to know is when you're a player, you have so many kids looking up to you. You have so
Yeah.
many, people who view you as a role model. And now you just kind of, just, I don't know, we're just kind of flashing, a gun on your live stream. And it's just immature. Like you said, I mean, he has an opportunity here to have wealth for, not just him, but for his kids and, possibly even, their kids. And it's just, you're throwing that all away just for silly little mistakes. So you just hope to see players, a little bit more mature. So, hopefully everything can get situated. He's a really fun player to watch. I don't want to see him, you know, out so early or, suspended for a long period of time. So, um, just hoping that, he can get everything figured out.
Yeah. Really hope this sleeve really helps him figure out stuff. But yeah, really unfortunate. Hopefully he gets better. He's a really great talent. So time will tell. Moving on. When creating this talking point, it's a little awkward now. How good are the Phoenix Suns? They've had a good winning streak going on. Um, a really great game this past weekend against the Mavericks where Devin Booker and KD went off. You had Kyrie and Luca go off. It was just a really exciting and entertaining game. Had a playoff atmosphere to it in Dallas. And they're on a 3-game winning streak. They played Charlotte in that stretch. I forget who else they played. Um, they head into tonight at the time of this recording, playing the OKC Thunder. Kevin Durant making his Phoenix Suns home debut, and he was ruled out because he sprained his ankle in pregame warmups. And looking at the video, did not look good. His ankle was basically touching the earth, so wasn't great. So far, we do not have a timetable if he's going to be out for an extended period of time or not. Well, I guess we'll see sooner or later. But just overall, really, really bad timing for the Phoenix Suns. Riding off the first 3 games of Kevin Durant, he was looking really great, really efficient coming back from that leg injury. And again, another incident that's just really bad in terms of timing, as the Suns are kind of trying to figure it out with their quote unquote big three that they have. And now they're kind of left without one of their probably their one or two top guy, depending how you view Booker if he's the number one guy, or KD if he's the number one guy. But losing KD is obviously a huge blow. Really sucks for him because he just came back and now he's injured again. But don't know about the timetable if it's going to be a long time or not. But they got the win against the Thunder, so shout out to the Suns, helps the Lakers out. But yeah, it's interesting to see how long KD's out. But if KD's there, I think the sky's the limit for them. I know when this trade first happened, I wasn't necessarily in love with their depth. But I think if you see this team in a 7-game series just with Booker and KD alone, it's honestly really scary to think about. And I'm interested to see how the matchups work out, where they finish in terms of seeding, because that will kind of be the telling sign how far they're going to make it. But I think regardless that their depth isn't that great, I think in a 7-game series they're going to be the last team anybody wants to face, because just within itself, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant is just a handful offensively, and teams are definitely got to be on their A game in terms of defense. So we'll see how that turns out. But with Kevin Durant there, they're a really dangerous team, and they've personally, in my eyes, they've shown that they are a really dangerous team. You have Kevin Durant taking like 10 to 15 shots and just being really efficient, which is kind of expected with a guy Durant's caliber. But Yeah, he's just looked really good. Really weird to see him in the Suns jersey, but the Suns have looked really good offensively in terms of Chris Paul being that facilitator and Devin Booker and KD kind of playing off each other pretty well and taking turns on the offensive end. So overall, the Suns have looked really good and the very small sample size that they've had together. And this Durant injury can not have come at a worse time as they're slowly starting to figure it out and getting some continuity and some chemistry going for the playoff time and starting to ramp it up a little bit. But the Suns just dealing with missing time with Devin Booker for a while. Chris Paul's missed some time. Now you have Kevin Durant missing time again, but the first time for the Suns. So I guess it just all depends how long this injury is for KD, if it's going to be days or weeks. That's kind of going to be really contingent on how far they go in the playoffs. Because if he's not there, that kind of hinders your championship hopes, obviously, with the guy of Durant's stature. But really interested to see how this pans out. And hopefully, this injury doesn't last long for Durant because he's just a really good player. And he's suffered injuries the past couple of seasons now. So it's kind of tough to see, but hopefully they figure it out. Hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later because the Suns were honestly looking really good despite my initial doubts in terms of team construction. But another thing for the Suns is figure out DeAndre Ayton. That whole Mavs game, he was kind of just sitting there looking pretty, getting some cardio in, and he's just not fitting in Phoenix. And that's kind of just been the whole thing in Phoenix. He's just kind of out there, not really the center point of the offense, not really a guy who demands the ball in the post, which I think he's that good and a really good center where you can just give him the ball down low in the post and let him go to work. But adding Kevin Durant into the fold and just Booker and Durant alone are going to take up a good amount of the shots. So In hasn't looked very engaged in terms of offense. He's kind of been low in terms of points and rebounds. So that's kind of my only thing with the Suns. Get Aiden more involved. I would like to see him get more involved, but we've been saying that for years now. And he was trying to leave and unfortunately got matched in terms of his situation. So, but definitely like to see the Suns get Aiden more involved and see what he can do offensively in terms of this team being a championship contender if you view them that way. So we'll see. The Suns have looked really good in the limited games, as I said. I guess it just all depends on how long Kevin Durant's out.
Yeah, this is honestly like super unfortunate. I saw the video. Just not something you want to see. This team, in terms of how good are they, I still think that it's how good are Devin Booker and KD feeling that night. I think that's still a fair assumption. As long as they're hitting their shots, I think this team is top 3 team in the league. And if they're just having an off night, I feel like any team that's in the playoffs could beat them. I just still don't like their depth as much, which is totally fine. But something that just I think is, even you were mentioning and especially with KD coming in, I just feel like his numbers are, whenever he gets back to healthy, I feel like his numbers are just going to drop even more, and his points and scoring wise is going to keep dropping just because like we said, it's something with him and the coaching staff, or something in him and his teammates there. He just does not fit in, and he just doesn't look like that dominant center that we know he can be. So just wanting him to figure it out, I think if he can figure it out and kind of buy in or just kind of figure out his role there, I think this team can be really, really good. But I just feel like him not looking like he really wants to be there really is hurting this team and this organization. But I think in terms of how good this team is, I still think that they're a Western Conference Finals team if healthy, if playing well, if Devin Booker and KD are, being that, top, duo in the league that, some people think that they are. Because, Devin Booker's, been on a tear. He still dropped 44 tonight. against the Thunder, and he is one of the best scorers in this league, and it's truly just unfair adding KD to his roster. So definitely going to be interesting to watch the Suns team now. They had a kind of a good stretch of games upcoming. They play the Kings, Warriors, and Bucks. Those games would have been nice to see KD play in, but obviously we don't know if he will. But it really, really just sucks that we weren't able to get to see him play those games if he's out. But if he actually does end up playing, it'll be interesting to see how the Suns match up against these other teams. And it'll give us a little preview of those Western Conference playoffs that we all know are going to be absolutely crazy. So this really does set back the Suns in terms of figuring out things and getting that chemistry down, and it just comes at the worst time, and it's really just an unfortunate injury.
And now moving on to a team that's kind of struggling at this point in time. The good old LA Clippers. Currently beating the Raptors by 13 at this point in time, so it's looking like they're probably going to get a win here, but at this point, they are 1-5 with Westbrook there, probably heading towards 2-5 unless they do a Clipper kind of thing and just choke this 13-point lead. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they go 2-5 with Westbrook there. They fell all the way into the play, and the Lakers are right behind them at the 9th seed. Clippers have a 1.5 game lead on the Lakers, but I know we've kind of been harping on it, but this thing has not looked pretty. Granted, they're probably going to be on a 2-game winning streak now. So I guess they're slowly kind of figuring out, but then again, they're playing a Raptors team that's kind of struggled all year long in terms of, even though on paper the Raptors are just really talented, have a lot of great players on their roster, they just haven't figured it out. And they played a Grizzlies team where they had no John Morant, no Dylan Brooks, no Brandon Clark. So it kind of depleted Grizzlies team, and they let that depleted Grizzlies team drop 51 and a quarter. Quite honestly, should have lost that game, but the Grizzlies just completely ran out of steam in that fourth quarter. So, and I was watching that Grizzlies game. I was watching that third quarter. It was not looking pretty, and I thought the Clippers were for sure heading down a path where they would go on a 6-game losing streak. But props to them. They battled it out after a really historic third quarter by the Grizzlies. And they battled back, and Kawhi Leonard, again, has just looked great this past week or so, coming back from the All-Star break and finding his groove, which you love to see as well. Him and Paul George have looked really good. Now it just all depends on the playoffs, if they're actually able to follow through and make a push this year. I think I've said it a couple times now, this is kind of the year where you show up or show out, and I think it kind of hinders on this year if major changes are coming, whether that be coaching changes or just complete overhaul of the roster. I don't know, but you got to make something happen if this year isn't the year. But are the Clippers in danger? Possibly. Are they finding their way out of danger? Probably. Obviously, having a really rough stretch with Westbrook first coming on, but now building on a 2-game winning streak now is obviously going to help them in terms of confidence and stuff like that. But again, it's just so much to talk about in the West. Just there's movement every single day, up and down, with every single team, whether a team's moving into the play-in, out of the play-in, and it's just probably going to be the way the Western Conference shakes out, probably up to the very final day. So interested to see if the Clippers are able to climb out of the play-in. At this point in time, they're probably going to be the 7th seed, I believe, after beating the Raptors. So slowly making their way out of the play-in. So we'll see. But yeah, has not looked great so far, as we said, the past couple of shows. And kind of wanted to talk about that Grizzlies game where could have very well been a 6-game losing streak, and now you're probably on a 1-game winning streak. against the Raptors. So it's not looked great so far. But Clippers have a lot of pressure here because they were sitting at the 4th seed and then added Westbrook, and things went downhill very fast, and now they're in the play-in. So they have a lot of pressure. I think they could very well be in the play-in if things don't really mount up, and it's a lot of pressure on the roster in terms of figuring out, a lot of pressure on Ty Lue to figure out rotations and stuff like that. But yeah, man, it's just been a very lackluster post All-Star break for them, and hopefully they figure it out because I've said it since the beginning of the year. I think this is the year where you have to make something happen. You have to, at the very least, get to the Western Conference Finals, and you cannot lose in the first or second round because I think if that happens, something serious has to happen. You have to look at Ty Lue, you have to look at the roster, you have to you have to do something because you've done this for past couple of seasons now, and you had that one Western Conference Finals run, but that was without Kawhi. And if he was there, who knows what would have happened. But that one conference final appearance has kind of been the only thing to show for it. And this Clippers team has always been solid in the regular season, just have not been able to figure it out in the playoffs. So maybe this is the year. Maybe they figure it out. But past couple of games have not been pretty by any means. And they played the Warriors, I believe, like a week or so now. And again, a third quarter collapse in Chase Center by the Clippers. And they were kind of taking command of that game. They were up double digits, and it just came all falling apart in that third quarter. So third quarter has not been fun to them. So we'll see. I'm still skeptic about this fit, about this team, just in terms of Westbrook being there. Again, he's looked solid past couple of games as a Clipper, but we'll see, man. The losing streak just was very harmful for them, and I guess time will tell if they're able to bounce back or not.
Yeah, I think since adding Westbrook, obviously they're probably going to be 2-5 if they somehow don't choke. But I think it's a little hard to kind of, just from me looking at it, it's kind of hard to put it all on them just getting Westbrook. I think that most of their games that they've lost, I think, if he didn't have a turnover here or there, they probably win. But that Warriors game, they probably lost regardless. That Nuggets game, they lost regardless. But both of the Kings' losses were definitely two very winnable games. Like you said, Kawhi is playing really well right now, and he's honestly been kind of the reason that they've even been in most of these games. But I think the Clippers will figure it out. I think that they'll kind of get it together these last couple of weeks. Just this roster is just too talented top to bottom to not figure it out, if that makes sense. It's just with Ty Lue, with that coaching staff, with Kawhi, with PG, like it's just I just don't see a way that they can't figure it out and start getting it together here. And with Westbrook, he's had, obviously, like I said, some costly turnovers some of these games, but I do think that he makes this team better. He adds just a little bit more energy, and I feel like this team can be dangerous in the playoffs. It just depends who they get in this first round and how the final seedings will kind of play out, because the West is really dangerous this year. I would be definitely interested to see a 7-game series between them and the Kings, because that has been crazy. These past 2 games have been pretty electric, and obviously both in Cali, and it would be pretty crazy to see that. In terms of they're in danger, I'm going to say no. I think, like I said, I think they figure it out. I think it was just a 5-game slide with Westbrook coming in. And honestly, it was pretty unlucky, but you have to look at it. They had some 2 really close games. And if they were to lose that 6th one, giving up 51 in the third, I think it'd be really concerning. But they did find a way to bounce back and, really close out that game. So I just think it's been, small mistakes here and there with Westbrook. And I think this team, that they'll figure it out, as much as I hate to say it. It's just, like I said, the roster is too talented to not figure it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, so just a couple minutes ago when I was saying they're up 13. They're now in danger of looking at a 4-point game with 50 seconds left. So
What?
Scotty Barnes makes both free throws. Clippers are up 4 with 54 seconds left. Clippers going to Clipper, am I right?
Had one job. It just basically said you guys aren't blowing it. Now look at you.
Well, they just scored, so now they're up 6. But we'll see if they're able to pull it out. But in terms of the Lakers' sake, they need the Clippers to somehow fumble this. But in terms of America's favorite team, the LA Lakers.
Oh, yes.
The LA Lakers have crawled and climbed all the way to the 9th seed after a very much needed must-win situation against the Memphis Grizzlies, which, granted, they are depleted. You just had to get that win any means necessary, and was not pretty by any means of the imagination. It was very sloppy at times, a pretty low-scoring game in terms of NBA standards now, but wasn't pretty, but the Lakers got it done. Shout out to Anthony Davis, man. He's just been absolutely huge for the Lakers, stepping up with LeBron being out for an extended period of time, and he's just been given master classes left and right just in terms of scoring, getting rebounds, defending the rim. He's just been instrumental for this team, and he's kind of just been a really great leader. He's definitely had to carry a lot offensively. There hasn't necessarily been a lot of help. It's kind of been a revolving door of who's going to step up. And so far, so good. They've been able to figure it out. They've been able to climb all the way up to the 9th seed currently in the plan, which you'd love to see. And hopefully they can keep climbing. You have D'Angelo Russell coming back on Friday against the Toronto Raptors. So adding D'Angelo Russell back will somewhat, in a way, relieve AD of some offense, but AD's definitely still going to have to keep up what he's doing right now. You have to get through this tough little stretch. You have Toronto. Even though I said they're a struggling team, they definitely still have the capability of being able to hand you a loss on Friday. And you have the red hot Knicks coming in on Sunday. Somehow they lost to the Charlotte Hornets to end their losing or winning streak. But the Knicks are still a really good team, and that will be another challenge. But these two games are going to be really instrumental in terms of standings, whether they're able to stick around the play-in or not. And obviously, as a Laker fan, you want to see them win every single game. Personally, I've said the last couple of games are all must win. And the Timberwolves game past couple of days honestly still haunts me to this day. I feel like we definitely should have won that game. I definitely could have used that game down the stretch. But can't complain. We're in the play-in. We're in the mix. That's all I can ask for. Got to be able to hold it down for LeBron. Just like 2 more weeks. Hopefully he's able to come back towards the end of March-ish. But time will tell. Hopefully the foot responds well when he's reevaluated. So we'll see. But yeah, Anthony Davis has just been monumental for the Lakers, and there's been a lot of chatter this past offseason if he's really that guy. And I will admit, I had those questions. Is he really the guy you want to build around when LeBron walks out that door? And man, he's shown it despite all his injury concerns, and he's just looked really, really good. And hopefully, he can keep it up and knock on wood, stay healthy. Took a nasty hit to the face and his nose, but hopefully he'll be fine. But yeah, shout out to AD, D'Angelo on the way. Hopefully D'Angelo looks good and is able to kind of just pick up where he left off, and he looked really good in this first couple of games as a Laker. So him and AD are going to be absolutely crucial down the stretch here, and hopefully they're able to continue to pile up wins with LeBron being out for the time being.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that the league is lucky LeBron is out because this team is honestly like probably like telling you like they should be going 23-0 right now, but someone just decided to hurt his ankle, which is okay. Um, let's be honest here. This team, I think, can still reach that 6 seed, maybe even. I won't even say the 5 seed. Never mind. Um, I just think with how AD is playing right now, he is so dominant. He's going back to that 2020 run we had, and those kind of games that we're used to seeing out of him. It's just crazy to watch him kind of step up. The additions from the trade deadline have been helping a lot. A lot of players are stepping up. Austin Reeves has been stepping up.
Oh yeah.
Rui's been stepping up. Like it's just been crazy to see how all these pieces that we've kind of traded for and kind of retained have been helping us out a lot because we know when LeBron gets back that this team is going to get a lot of firepower back. A lot of that pressure is going to come off of AD, and there's just a different type of energy. It just looks like the team's enjoying basketball again. Um, maybe Westbrook really was a vampire in the locker room without what reports said. But no, but all seriousness is I'm really happy to see this team making one. We really gotta kind of hold it out here these next couple of games. Like you said, we have the Knicks, the Raptors are a winnable game. Knicks are still even a winnable game. Pelican, like all these games we can still win. And if D'Lo can come back and kind of take a little bit of that pressure off of AD, it's really going to help us succeed. And I'm really excited to see where this team can end up. And another reason why D'Lo coming back will really help us is that Lonnie will not see as many minutes as he is getting right now because, my Lord, does he make me shake when he's on the court.
Yeah, man. Dennis and Lonnie have just not looked great in this last couple of games. And that Warriors game, Dennis was really getting on my nerves just in terms of his just pound, dribble, just a lot of time off the clock and just trying to get his own at times, not really moving the ball at all. But yeah, Austin Reeves has been great. Malik Beasley has been struggling, and I don't want to chalk it up to the Lakers curse, but
It's the Lakers curse.
he's really got to start figuring it out.
It's the Lakers curse.
I'm being very lenient with him right now. I I believe every time he shoots it, it's going to go in, and I know at the beginning when he was first here in LA, every Laker fan was like, if he's not making it, just keep shooting it. He's got the respect, which is true to a certain extent. He's definitely going to provide that spacing, but at some point they just got to drop at some point. And he's kind of been that streaky shooter for the most of his career. So hopefully it starts coming around, and I think D'Angelo Russell will help that just in terms of another guy that the defense has to respect. And he's an underrated playmaker. I think he'll be able to hit Malik in his spots as well. So hopefully D'Lo coming back will help. And Troy Brown has been magnificent for the Lakers. His 3-point shooting has been spectacular. Hitting clutch threes like he did against the Grizzlies last night, a very much needed three. He's just been great. He's playing high minutes. He's hitting threes, having to chase the Warriors and the Grizzlies around. He's played a lot of minutes. So props to him being able to withstand high minutes, being able to hit crucial shots. And I can't believe I'm saying this about a veteran minimum player. We haven't been able to say it, but I would love for him to stick around. But him showcasing this on arguably the biggest stage for a basketball player, maybe he has a little bit more of a market this offseason. Time will tell. But yeah, he's been really good for the Lakers this year. Hopefully he can stick around. Would love to have him. He's definitely been a genuine surprise. But yeah, the Lakers have looked really good. Hopefully D'Angelo coming back helps soon. But yeah, and then moving on to, last segment to finish up this episode, got some fantasy basketball, and Dano and I are matching up this last week, and checking right now, I was up a little bit beginning of the week, and now the lead has suddenly evaporated, which not much of a surprise to me. I'll put up our scoring here in the today. You know, I saw a nice little surprise here. I see. Oh, Royce has an O now. Okay, so yeah.
Oh.
So I just saw Boyan is at risk of being shut down for the remainder of the season, and he's been averaging 30 fantasy points for me. So losing that's going to be really, really bad for me. And obviously, you have LeBron out, and you have Zion out for 2 more weeks. And what's wrong with Royce? Knee soreness. Awesome. But yeah, my team has a nice little relationship with the injury bug right now. And again, I mentioned it last show. Hopefully, able to hold on to this 4th seed. If I'm somehow able to pull off this upset, that would be greatly appreciated to get a 3rd seed. But not looking pretty right now. But Lou Dort dropping 2 points is funny.
See, this is what I'm talking about when I mention like this is my team's weak point is these random 2-point performances. Brogdon as well with 8. Reggie's gonna get dropped whenever my team doesn't have someone on IR. But for some reason, someone just wants to be dead all the time. And like I'm just too lazy to go look at it, to go look at the free aid or the waivers. Giannis is playing tomorrow, which is thank God. De'Aaron Fox is playing tomorrow, thank God. So this team can finally get back to being dominant. But like these random day to days with De'Aaron and Giannis are really kind of hurting me because like now with this, I mean, I guess for the next 2 weeks is fine because I play Bryce and I don't want to get overconfident. But if I lose to Bryce, like what was I doing this entire year? But like I just need my guys to be healthy and I need the 2-point performances to stop.
Jonas only played 7 minutes.
That's what I like to see.
Wow. Yeah, that's not great. I took a chance on Marcus Morris. You know, he's definitely not been good, and he's definitely still showcasing that. I thought he'd be a little bit better. Obviously, has not shown that. Oh my God. Okay. Well, after this, I'm probably going to be dropping him, but decided to take a little bit of a gamble there. But yeah, man, playoffs next week, I believe, and that's when it's going to get real interesting. And God knows, I'm probably if I make it out of the first round, that's probably going to be a blessing in disguise. I'm going to have to do some deep dives into the waivers to figure out who's going to replace Marcus Morris and Boyan if he's actually out for the season, which he probably is because it's the Pistons. But it's going to be interesting. You know, it's a fantasy basketball is always a very, very fun experience in terms of finding out whenever you log into the app, just figuring out who has a red day to day. So that'll be interesting, and the playoffs are going to be a very fun adventure. But that will do it for Christian's up in here. Christian's up in here. Shout out to Christian.
Wow.
Came in at probably the worst timing, but yeah, that'll do it for this episode of Basketball Maestros. Thank you for tuning in, and yeah, there was a lot to talk about today, and I guess we'll see how things pan out moving forward. But yeah, playoff seeding is going to get interesting. We'll definitely keep tabs on that. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.